Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to see friends. It's not always a pleasure to have to appear at rallies to protest yet another indignity, yet another illegality, yet another massacre. Obviously, the news we just heard is wonderful news, but it, I'm sure, comes as no surprise to the people who are at Camp Liberty, because what they have demonstrated consistently is a resolve to stand by their principles, to be loyal to one another, and to work for their goal of establishing a free Iran. I had the pleasure of meeting the people in Iraq 4 times. At Camp Ashraf in 2004 and 2008, at Camp Liberty in 2013, and in Tirana, Albania last year. And I can tell you from personal knowledge what you already know, which is those people will not be intimidated by absurd arrests, by arbitrary detentions, and by even assaults on their own members and friends. From a legal perspective, the arrest of Mr. Zahiri was an absurdity. There was no basis to arrest him. There was no basis to hold him. He was taken into custody for a traffic accident and held for 30 days, finally released on $30,000 bail. Now I ask you, in what democratic country could that even be possible? The fact that he appears not even to have caused the accident, and the fact that there appears not even to have been a single injury resulting from the accident makes it perfectly clear what the real agenda of the Iraqi government was. It was not to prosecute someone for reckless driving. It was to test the resolve of the people of Camp Liberty. And I can tell you, as you already know, that test will always be passed, and those efforts will always fail. That we've seen consistently. So now, it is always my role to give you a quick summary of the legal situation on the ground in Iraq. I've done this for 11, 12 years now, and I will do it briefly again. The people of Camp Liberty are protected persons under the 4th Geneva Convention. The Iraqi government has responsibility to extend human rights protections to them, an obligation that it is obviously not carrying out, and failing that conformity to international law, the United States, as the power that transferred these people to Iraq, steps in as the responsible party. And the United States, again, has quite obviously failed to satisfy its international obligations. The people of Camp Liberty can certainly not stay where they are for very much longer. They are in harm's way, and it would do no one any good were they to be massacred, were they to be the victims of extended and additional human rights violations. They have to be transferred, they have to be resettled, and since the United States created this problem, it is up to the United States to fix it. The old adage, if you make a mess, you clean it up. And we did make that mess. We should be big enough to admit that we made that mess, and we should now step in to fix the mess that we created. It is not asking for a radical change in American policy. Indeed, what I'm suggesting is the only course consistent with international law is also consistent with American policy, or at least with the policy that has been vocally espoused by this administration and by its predecessor. That is, support for organizations and movements that support freedom of religion, freedom of belief, gender equality, and a nuclear-free, not only Iran, but a nuclear-free Middle East. Those policies of the MEK are the policies of this government. So this should be an easy one. This does not pose a difficult political dilemma for President Obama or for Secretary Kerry. The solution is clear. The people of Camp Liberty must be brought to the United States, perhaps temporarily, doesn't have to be permanent resettlement. They have to be brought here, taken away from harm's way, so that their future can be determined calmly and cooperatively with input from all interested parties, including the people of the MEK themselves. No more making arrangements to move them on pretexts. No more telling them that Camp Liberty is a paradise, only to find that it is very far from that. No more telling people to abandon their property and their homes of 30 years duration because they will shortly be moved, and years later there has been no progress on that front. So I say to you all, and I say to those at Camp Liberty who might be watching this, the legal issues are terribly straightforward in this matter. There need not be much debate. The people of Camp Liberty are owed by the United States treatment consistent with the Fourth Geneva Convention, to which we have been a party since 1948, and that treatment requires resettlement to a safe, secure location where they can go about their business, including their political business, in security and safety and without efforts at intimidation. There have been too many murders, there have been too many massacres, too many arrests, too many hostages taken. That has to stop. And the two men in the building behind me have the power to make it stop, and it is now their obligation to carry that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.